This is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Infinity Summit podcast. Today is May 31st, 2021, and today we will be talking about Jakey.
Yes.
And I'm Jesse.
Noah.
X.
Logan.
Jacob. X.
We switched it up.
You're not my ex. And we have Jacob.
X, formerly known as Xavier.
Or Xander.
Oh, no. You can't say that on the podcast.
Don't do it.
You're going to get called it now.
It's all right. It'll give you more opportunity to test your mettle against people.
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
like, oh, yeah? You want to say that again?
Didn't you
Why
say you wanted to be called?
Just call me Xander. I'll kill you.
Goodness. All right.
Yeah.
What? Don't look all expectantly at
Tell
me.
us about this red book. What is it?
It's nasty.
That's
is
all
what
I've
it
heard
is.
is
Well, tell
the
us your
Red Book.
journey up to the Red Book, because and what the hell is the Red Book?
Yeah.
And
I
why?
hear about it. All that shit.
So it's the work of Carl Jung in his attempt to integrate his shadow, which is all of these terms are created by him. He's a psychologist. If people didn't know, back World War II times, it was actually previously thought that he was an anti-Semite, but turns out they just declassified some stuff where he was actually reporting to the Allies on Hitler's mental status. So that's kind of out of the water. But
So is there such thing as a Semite? Sorry to interlude
Semite?
here. Yeah,
Jew?
We got like, I guess, huh? I guess that's what it would be, because if you're anti-Jew, anti-Semite, yeah, I guess they're Jews. Never mind.
Okay.
I
Continue.
thought that was a bug. The Semite sounds like a bug.
kind of.
All right, yeah.
Some
Let's
sort
find
of
this
parasite, I
Makes
suppose.
sense.
Gracious. All right. Anyway.
6 legs.
Okay. Yes. So, very, very interesting man.
Hold up. They're called Semites because the language, they spoke the Semitic language.
Oh,
Jewish people?
okay.
just like
Yeah.
we're English,
Okay.
There you go.
Probably. Fair enough. That's
or at least we used to be English.
nifty little
Anyway.
tidbit. I like that.
I'm an American.
Yeah, yeah, we're
We speak
American now, but
American.
like before, when they would all like, England spoke English, France spoke French.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Semitic language, and they're Semites. Okay, sorry.
No worries. I don't really have a direction.
Making
spoke
all the
Hebrew.
connections.
What is Semitic
Maybe once
language?
upon a time.
Yeah, but they still like read in Hebrew.
I think
Like
we
That's
did.
true. Ben Shapiro does it all the
the
time.
religious texts, at
Yeah.
least.
He talks in
He reads the
too.
Hebrew stuff.
Yeah, they know.
So can he like translate the OG Bible and stuff?
yeah,
I
I think
reckon.
most of
That'd
them
be
have
sick.
to. I know.
Like transcripts.
probably
from
be harder,
their
though.
battle that they just barely had.
I thought you
He was
could
reading stuff between them.
like ancient Hebrew. I thought they
different.
said they.
It's definitely different. Like
Yeah.
like the ancient.
Like Old English.
I wouldn't say yeah, like Old English. It's weird.
Yeah.
Jim has showed us some stuff. I'm like, how do you even read this? It's not even English. Like the F's were S's, and it was weird.
Syphilis.
Anyway, I'm sorry. The Red Book.
yes,
the
the
book
Red Book.
wrapped
Yeah.
in skin, right?
What?
I'm
No.
just kidding. That's just like when you have books like that. That's like wild. Then
Yes.
In
It's like
horror
a grimoire.
movies- Yeah.
Mhm.
In horror movies, it's like wrapped in human skin or
Yes.
whatever. But
Yes.
it's not wrapped in skin. The Red Book is red. Okay.
Well, actually, so the Red Book is Carl Jung's work into his subconscious, where he pretty much delved completely and fully as he could into his subconscious and gave weight to the characters therein, I suppose. So,
All right. So how do you say that in English?
he daydreamed real hard.
Okay.
You boy,
okay.
you boy, you boy.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if I were try to dumb it down, it would lose something. So, and I don't think
Well,
dumbing down
you
would
can
be
say
the right
whatever
word.
you're gonna say, and then like try to translate it a little bit.
All right.
Because remember, we're having 14-year-olds. That's target audience 14 to 30. So
All right.
some of them may or may not get it.
All right. Yeah, so I would say generally he was exploring his own mind in a way that he took seriously, because generally you don't take serious. So and I might have this wrong, but the general outline of the idea is you go into kind of like a listless daydream kind of state, and you just follow those to their conclusion, essentially. Like, if you were to, you remember when you were younger, like when you were a kid and you used to just kind of daydream, and you would pretty much go off like you would on a normal dream, but you were in the waking state. It's like that, with the exception that you take seriously what's going on, and it ends up kind of, things end up kind of manifesting themselves, I suppose. At least in his experience it did, and I don't have enough experience to say definitively, but generally my first delve into it was influential. Anyway, yes, so that is the practice that he was undertaking, and the Red Book is actually an accumulation of a bunch of these sessions, I suppose you could call them, where he delved into his subconscious quite deeply. And those books were actually called the Black Books. And so the Red Book is an accumulation of all of those works.
Okay, so the Red Book is an accumulation of the Black Books.
Yes.
It was published in 2009.
Did these Black Books suck you in with tentacles by chance?
They were pretty kinky,
Skyrim
I would have
No,
to say.
it's a Skyrim reference.
Yes.
I had to.
Yes. Yeah, it was, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what the Red Book is, I suppose you could say, on the surface. That Carl Jung was very steeped in ancient cultures. He was very interested in medieval times and the Hermetic philosophy, alchemy, things like that.
Which is?
The Hermetic philosophy.
What is Hermetic?
I really don't have that deep of a knowledge of it. I have a
Google.
shimmering of it, but it's the alchemy and the Hermetic text.
Yeah, look up Hermeticism
So
or something.
yeah, Hermeticism is like
It's like
I
the
guess what you
practice of Hermetics, right?
yeah, well, it's like I guess a superstition kind of thing, like the idea of the I think I could be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Hermetic philosophy and the art of alchemy are like the same thing. They're intertangled. The Hermetic philosophy is alchemy, essentially, if I'm correct.
What you
I
got
could
for
be
us,
far
yes?
off base.
So this is Wikipedia, but it says, is a label used to designate a philosophical system that is primarily based on the purported teaching of Hermes
Trismegistus.
Yep. A legendary Hellenic combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth.
Mhm.
These teachings are contained in the various writings attributed to Hermes, which were produced over a period spanning many centuries. It looks like 300 BCE to 1200 CE, and maybe even very different in content and scope. I don't know.
So what's
Yeah.
like the basis?
So
of
actually, there's
Hermeticism.
really quick though. There's a intertanglement between Thoth and Hermes in the sense that they think it was the translation of that god into the newer age in essence, because well in a lot of religion you can notice that like there's reoccurring themes essentially. So like the god of knowledge and things like that at the time was Thoth, who translated into Hermes in, I guess, what would you say, pre-medieval or in medieval times, things like that.
So how did this book affect you?
Wait. We
It's
didn't even
nasty.
figure out what the basis of Hermeticism is.
Yeah.
Like, what's
We
the
could do
teaching?
that.
I'm getting so much history, but no actual, like, what
Is
it
there
is.
is there like a little?
I have a
section at
few
the bottom
books
where you
on
can
it. I wish
find,
I would've brought
like,
some.
the basis.
That would have been nice.
Mhm.
And-
Philosophy. Look at the
Oh,
philosophy.
there you go. God as the all. In the philosophical Hermetica, the ultimate reality is called by many names such as God, Lord, Father, Mind, and the Creator, the All, the One, etc. However, peculiar to the Hermetic view of the divinity is that both the All and All, I guess they're talking Greek to Pan, and the Creator of the All are created things pre-existing God. And God is the nature of the cosmos, being both the substance from which it proceeds and the governing principle which orders it. Yet the things themselves in the cosmos were all created by God, thus God created itself, and is both transcendent and the creator of the cosmos, and inanimate as the creator of the cosmos. These ideas are closely related.
So a higher energy, basically.
He is everything and created everything, but is nothing and created nothing. That's weird.
Huh. Okay.
That's what it
Actually
seems
makes
like to
sense.
me.
yeah, that
Because the first
Very
part is kind
interesting.
of like a lot of the basis of Christianity is like God is everything, He created everything, blah blah blah. But they don't have the second part. God is nothing. Everything is nothing. What?
yeah,
It's all empty space.
yeah.
There's space between the atoms.
I don't know. So now I'm a little bit torn, but I'm pretty certain that the Hermetica and the alchemical philosophies are very closely intertwined, if not the same thing.
Alchemy. It says in here earlier that Hermetic was also called by some like a
Alchemy. Something.
alchemy. Yeah,
Yeah.
It just went by a different name as the alchemy.
Okay.
Most notably, alchemy often went by the name of the Hermetic art or the Hermetic philosophy.
Okay.
Namaste. Muchas gracias.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but we need to just like
Yes. No.
figure
It's
out what
well.
the
It's
basis
well. It's
of
good
this is.
because I'm just like serving you up full plates undigested. So.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so a couple of things with the idea of alchemy and stuff is a lot of people. Well, one of the reasons that it was, I guess, what would you say, cast aside is because it was taken in its literal form, and I think this isn't a direct quote from Jung, but he said something like, the alchemical processes were real, but not how people saw them. So what essentially the alchemical transformations is what they're looking for is like turning lead into gold, and I guess the search for the philosopher's stone, things like that. But Jung said they were actual transformations, but it was transformations on the people trying to transmute. The transmutation was internal rather than external.
Yeah, this says the part of it was not only turning like lead into gold, it was trying to turn things into their more perfect state. Therefore, they tried to turn the natural body to perfection. This perfection is the accomplishment of the magnum opus, or Latin for great work.
Okay.
And it says the three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe is alchemy, astrology, and theurgy. So everyone, astrology is the operation of the stars, and then theurgy is the operation of the gods, which I think the operation of the gods has to do with magic and black magic and such, and evil spirits and demons and divine magic, all that jazz.
Fun things like that.
And then the astrology, physics, like science as we know it today, I guess it would be.
It was its
And,
precursor, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like, I don't know, observing things. The scientific method would be under astrology, and wisdom, stuff like things that help you gain wisdom, I guess is what it says.
I'm about it.
Kind of neat.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so generally I was just trying to give you a background as to why or what would have prompted him to start these things and kind of what frame of mind he was in going into these type of things, because I think it's a big factor for his subconscious works that they taste biblical, I suppose, is how I would say it. They're flavored of a thing like that. It's near scriptural text in my approximation.
Very interesting. So you read
That's
this
the
red
preface.
book?
I listened to it, yes.
Yes.
Twice through, yeah.
Is it on Audible?
Yes.
Okay.
My phone is turned off, but near the end we could pull it up and I could give the authors and things, but yeah.
We can put it.
I can
we
get it
put it
right
on there.
now as well.
C.G. Jung.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
We'll find
there's
it.
a lot of what would you say, translations of it and different things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess that's preface, a lot of preface. I don't know, ask me pointed questions because it's a lot.
So you read it.
I listened to it, yes.
And what did it do? What did it do to you as a person, and like what did you learn from it?
I unlearned a lot of things, that's for certain. So I'm kind of a dramatist at heart anyway, and I put a lot of, what would you say, weight into I don't want to make this sound too frou-frou, but like spiritual, psychological, and I guess the non-physical things, and I think religion cannot be written off out of hand, not for the reason that I think it has singular weight, but is it's a vehicle that carries old wisdom. I think it's dangerous to chop out your foundations when you don't know what they're holding up. So a lot of things like that. I lost my train of thought completely. We were talking about what it did to me. All right, yes.
Yeah, and then you just said, in layman's terms, basically, to not ignore religion because it has good foundations, good, truthful foundations,
Possibly,
potentially.
Yes. I would
There's
a
a lot
say,
of years that have gone into it.
Yes.
So there's
Is that
got to be
what-
something there.
One religion specifically, or a little bit of every?
I would say a little bit of every, just for the specific reason that it's like this. If you have an unidentified gem in your hand and you just throw it over your shoulder, you don't know particularly what that could be worth. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of, I think it's kind of the objection to a lot of the more left, hard-leaning left movements, which are like, tear down the foundations, get rid of all structure. All structure's evil. It's like, okay, but the reason that we're not in complete chaos is because there are some border walls.
It's not all structure. It's your structure.
Yeah. Yes. Regardless.
I identify as a structure.
Oh, okay. It's like that. Yeah. So it's, it had a very specific and what would you say, drastic effect on me specifically. And I say specifically because I know that I'm a dramatist, and I don't imagine that these things would affect everyone as heavily as it did me. I can't be sure, but I don't think it would.
So what effects did it have on you?
In short,
And why?
In short, near complete dissolution of my foundational ideals.
That does sound dramatic.
Yeah. I did say I'm a dramatic creature, but it felt dramatic. I don't even know how. So, where do I start? Probably at the beginning. So in the beginning of the book, Jung prefaces his book. I should say this first. With these books, with the statement that these are his truths and his paths that he took and he learned from. They are not yours. Pretty much, do not steal my wealth, essentially.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's a good preface. But then he goes into creating something as closely approximating spiritual and scriptural text as I could think is possible. He what would you say? He works on symbolic levels, layers deeper than I think people generally consider, even in their deepest thoughts. So yes, for me, the reason that it did dissolve a lot of those things is because it just makes you reconceptualize, or it made me reconceptualize the way that I looked at, I guess, my soul and spirituality in general, anything of that nature. It's just kind of, I don't know, it kind of internalizes everything very heavily. So it's like the nature of your soul is, I don't know, he questions whether or not it has his best interest at heart, and he externalizes it from himself to such a degree that, it's, what would you say? It's a drastic shift, because you generally think, if you think anything of your soul, or I guess you could even say your subconscious, your intuition, there's a lot of words for it, but if you think anything of it, you think of it as something, if not in your power, something that is of you. It is of one fiber with the direction in which you'd like to go. Mm-hmm. But he questions that, and in these, I guess, what you say, thought experiments, to the degree that his spirit betrays him in multiple iterations. And it's quite drastic. If you take any of this with any sort of weight, it'll, what would you say? You'll at least have to re-question some of your preconceptions, I would say. At least I did, probably all of mine. But that's just the beginning of the book, so that's great.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't want to make it too dry, because I feel like without having any background information, having had read it, it might end up tasting a little dry. Just the, what would you say, the spouting of kind of the ideals that I think he, what would you say, foundationalized and created in himself. So.
Well, what we want to know about is what are the ideals that crumbled out of yourself, and has there been anything re-solidified since the book, since reading it?
I would. Unfortunately, not much is re-solidified. It's been a little bit of a descent. Let's see. Well, I should start with what has dissolved. My previous conception of God wasn't very structured to begin with. And I think that's another preface I should probably make. My ideals, I'm a very fluid person in the sense that I don't put down stakes well or what would you say, commit very easily to anything at all. So I didn't have a very firm grasp on it. However, I did kind of have the general conception that I thought, if there is an iteration of God that is of a singular mind, then it is a lesser. It is not God in its whole. And if there is a God, I think it would be more aptly described as the overall energy of creation in its singularity. Because people, I think it's intelligent, I thought it was intelligent, but I thought that people had the misconception that it was the same type of intelligence that we have, not a dispersed intelligence. Do you know what I mean? So I thought those things. No, I don't know if I think it would be more apt if I just said I don't know. It kind of pulled that out from under me. There's not a lot of solidity I have left, just because it dissolved my sense of personal identity because I unified that with my soul. It dissolved my sense of God because I unified that with an ideal. Just pretty much a lot of things dissolved. Not much re-solidified, but I also haven't done much of my own personal work and journey into, I guess, what would you say, delving into the dark side of my own ego and taking these practices in hand. So
what did stick or solidify all the way? Or did everything crumble?
It was pretty close. It was pretty close to a demolitions
Mr.
program.
Gorbachev, bring down that wall.
Yeah, it was fairly close. What did solidify or stayed solid? The fact that I should go into everything with, what would you say? Going into it, the fact that I should go into everything with as open a mind as possible and take things seriously, that stayed or solidified more aggressively, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So changing that's all, I guess.
Okay. So
But
you have no foundation. You're just you now. Whatever you are.
Yeah, but
Is
also
there you?
Yes, I was actually going to say. Also, it's fucking nebulous because it's such a deep hole to jump into. I don't know. It's people don't realize. No, people do realize. Like, think about, you learn things about yourself. You learn things about yourself all the time. You'll never know someone. That's why you can spend so much time with them. You'll never know everything about someone because the core identity of a person is not their accumulated, what would you say, perceptions or emotions or anything. It's more the observer behind. And so that can, I guess, create all sorts of incongruous things out of itself. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a deep well because there's no bottom, I think.
Well, could you tell us about your daydream or whatever?
Yeah,
that you were explaining?
That's pretty close. So I actually don't want to say too solidly that's the completeness of the process, because I know that he actually taught it to some people, and they have the definition somewhere. I only went loosely off of it and just kind of ran with it. I can try and tiptoe around my first jump into it.
You don't have to if you're not
No,
comfortable with it.
it's not a comfort thing. It's just how to describe it aptly. So I don't know if you often participate in a daydream, but it.
Question for you was it Jung that declared that God is dead, or was it another?
No,
one?
I'm pretty sure. No, it wasn't Jung. I know it
There's
wasn't.
one of the
Jung.
psychoanalysts was like, they declared that God was dead and we have killed him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, I sent you that the other day. I can't remember who it was though. I can't. Do you remember?
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was Nietzsche. He was
Okay.
a very big influence on Jung as well. I believe they worked together. Or no, who was it that he worked together? It might have been Freud. I might be tripping up heavy. Just a second.
Actually, so the full quote is, "God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him.
There's
How
not
shall we
enough-
comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers?
Mhm.
What has holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned, has bled to death under our knives? Who will wipe this blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred game shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it?"
That's dark.
No, that's gooch.
Yeah, it's huge.
I
That's
like
some-
that.
Yeah, I remember I sent you that Noah with my writing. Do you remember that the other day?
You may have. You sent a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
it was the idea of the resurrection of a god is measured in seas of blood. Do you recall?
Mm-hmm. Something about that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, very heavily influenced by that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Jung talks about that as well. There's a portion in the Red Books where he talks about his I guess prophetical dreams of World War II and its coming about,
Mm-hmm.
and those are pretty gnarly. He talks about he had like he knew it was a prophetical dream. I think he said he had it multiple nights in a row, with rivers of blood and all sorts of intriguing things. Let's say, yeah.
Hmm.
I totally forgot where we'd left off. Not that it's super important, but
I'm excited to delve into this red book. Once
Yeah.
upon a day.
I'm definitely gonna give that a
Sounds like your
read.
next
Sounds
book.
like it's gonna be interesting.
I think we should do Anthem for our next book by Ayn Rand. It's
Anthem?
a fantastic book.
I don't know that I've read Anthem.
Absolutely
Okay.
incredible. I read it
Okay.
in middle school. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm
It's
very
a really
down.
dystopian one, but it was so good when I read it.
It's all right. Dystopias are wild.
Okay. Let's do it.
We'll do that for the next one. After 1984.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Jacob, along the lines of this spiritual journey,
But-
taking you to different places, I'm curious what other maybe things have you read, things have you done that have just given you a lot of enlightening ideals, I guess.
things to chew on.
Yeah, things to chew on.
What's impacted you the most?
It's hard to see past the surge wall of Jung just because it's the most recent thing and it's
Mm-hmm.
quite encompassing. Let me stew for.
Well, if you've got more on Jung, I want to hear about it.
That was
More
so,
on yourself.
so directed towards something very specific.
What?
His question, what we did up camping.
Oh, oh, my bad. Is that what you were talking about?
Not
we,
necessarily.
we can definitely segue into that. I think it would be less dry, and we might have more people to say more things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make it
But
too
do you
dry.
have
like I
more
said.
about Jung at all? As far
I
as
could
you
probably talk about him unexhaustively, just because, like I said, it's like the reason that the Bible is such a prolific text is along with other spiritual texts, you name
Mhm.
it, whatever it might be, the Tao Te Ching, anything like that. It's because
What's that?
the Tao Te Ching is one of the Eastern philosophies. I can't remember if it's
It sounds Indian.
it's East. It's one of the Eastern. It's not Indian. It's either Chinese or Japanese. something
Sounds
like
Asian.
The Tao.
That. Mhm.
Age is huge.
It's big, large. Yes. What were we just on? What were we talking about?
You were saying there was a
Oh,
bunch of...
it's unexhaustible because religious text tends to be that way.
Mhm.
It's so layered that whatever level of interpretation you come at it from, it seems to be in an unexhaustible mind. So yeah.
I want to know all about your interpretations, though, like all your experiences with this book.
Okay, so we were going to delve into my first experience with
Yes.
it. So I'll probably be very tentative about it, but I'll kind of give a brief overview. So I was just kind of lounging and looking out my window thinking that I would like to journey into this a little bit more. And then I decided, I might as well just kind of let it happen. So I was in a state where it was really relaxed before bed, and I just kind of
And
let
what
my
were you
mind
delving
wander.
into? Like, what's this practice?
It's it's supposedly the exploration of your negative side, your shadow being, which is your unintegrated part of your subconscious, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is, like, I don't know if I've already prefaced this, but it's like, at least this is what I gathered from it. I want to say that I am no moral authority. If you want to know directly, you can look it up. I'm sure they have somewhere measured and written out the procedure, but from what I gathered, it's something like a daydream that you follow to its conclusion. You take it with seriousness, and it kind of takes on its own thing. So
Okay.
So I kind of let myself just kind of drift, and I don't want to say it came to me, but that's kind of how it feels. It feels like an external kind of happening in some ways. At least what I experienced did. And I want to say this as well. When I was listening to that book the first time around, the Red Book, I'd felt such a way of dissolution that I thought for a moment that I might have been losing grip on reality. And it sounds a lot more drastic than it actually is. It's just like at some points in your life you feel disconnected enough that you feel like you could just drift off. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so there I was in a relaxed state, just kind of letting my mind drift. And it came to me in, I'll say a daydream, because a vision is way too over the top. That's not what it was. But it felt different than a daydream, but was of that nature. And I remember looking up from my eye. So Jung actually does this, explains this a lot. And I think me having had read the book before I tried the process definitely influenced me in many ways. But he makes a separation of his I as him the experiencer, him his soul, and him in whatever integration he's in. So I would say my I, as the observer, was looking up to a shadowed being who was very large, a giant, I guess you could say, and I had conceptualized this as God. And I remember apologizing profusely that I had lost faith, and then what I had envisioned as God, I suppose, said or screamed to me that it asked me, "You lost faith? You lost faith in me?" And then it bridged the gap very quickly and pummeled me to the ground. And I remember feeling in the daydream very like out of energy to even keep being, because I just felt as if I had lost all conception of reality, because if that was my God, and if your God is, what would you say? If your God does not believe that you are worthy to exist, how could you be? Anyway, I was laying in that state in my mind, and so this is going to sound very weird, but Jung also talked about the soul being the other, in the sense that, he said I think this also comes going back even to alchemy. One of the fundamental principles of alchemy is that everything has a feminine and masculine degree, from rocks to stars, from people to planets, whatever, you name it. It has a feminine or masculine energy. And he said the soul of a man is female and the soul of a female is man. Anyway, so there I was laying there, and then a woman came up and lifted me up and said, that is a giant. God is not a giant. And then pushed me forward, and I guess I won't go too into detail, but I ended up killing the giant, and therefore my ideal of God. And yeah, that was the first time that I ever delved into that type of an experiment at all, and that was just a great preface, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dare say.
Kind of nasty, but that's what happened. Yeah.
So is that when all of your foundation just collapsed?
It was. I was well on my way beforehand, but after that, I really did feel like the bottom dropped out of the jar for sure. It was a lot like, oh, I have nothing to hold on to. I guess I really did have like a profound feeling of like continual falling. Do you know what I mean? Mm. In like a metaphorical sense, just like grasping for straws and nothing's there. Nothing was solid, so still isn't. I don't know. this happens with most profound experiences. When they happen, they're very in your face and direct. But as time goes on and you just fall back into your normal routine, they tend to fuzz out and dull a little bit. It still stayed pretty sharp, but yeah, dulling a little bit. So not. I don't. You were with me, not too long after, and I think you could probably say that I was in a weird way.
Oh, on the drive down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say yeah.
Yeah, you were talking a lot until you got food.
Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
you.
That's actually interesting. Food stabilizes a lot of humans, but I'm among them.
Food and a nap.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much good to go.
And
Not
10
after.
minutes.
Yeah.
And what?
Not after.
Sometimes some food and a nap.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a shit.
Solve a lot of issues that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Regardless, yeah, I could talk about that all day, but I do feel like I said that if you don't have any sort of, or if you haven't listened to it, that this would sound like a lot of dry philosophizing. And there's what would you say, no point of reference. So
Mhm.
I don't want to go too much further into it.
That's fine. Let's talk about shrooms.
There you go.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, whoa, he says. What, do you want me to start?
Because-
or who
because-
can start?
Now I'm bringing this up because, from what I understand, a lot of times you can have a very spiritual experience. You can learn a lot on psychedelics. So I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
How is it? What have you learned?
If only you could. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's not just for Jacob. I'm curious.
Yeah. The describable aspect of it is, I would say, at least the lower fifth, because,
What's that?
like I'm saying, it's the amount of
Your
the amount of a
toes
trip
silly.
that you can describe that to someone that hasn't gone through it. You can describe maybe a fifth of it.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's like the majority
can't.
of it you cannot put into a frame that is understandable to someone that hasn't been through it. It's a lot like and this is such an overused explanation, but it's a lot like trying to explain a color to someone who hasn't seen it, or an emotion to someone who hasn't felt it. It's a very actioning type of a feeling, I suppose. Logan, I'd like you to go first because I think we always should probably start with our greens before our meat and potatoes. You know what I mean? You want to start with not dessert. So.
Sure. Mine was terrible. Yeah, I was camping. I took it was really hot, so this is like the first issue, and we were with a group of people that I didn't like personally. Well, I liked half of them, the other half I just didn't like. So you're not vibing with them or whatever, but essentially you get really fucking frantic. And I went into a tent where it was windy and dark, so I couldn't get out.
Oh, that's not good. That's
No,
not good.
yeah. I was just fucking frantic. Everything was swelling up in my mouth so I couldn't breathe, but I really could breathe.
It was in your head.
So
you're
in
saying.
your head, everything was swelling
Yeah.
up.
In my head, I was fucking... I should have been in the hospital, probably. At one point, I seen... You know how you have, like, the 7 chakras or
Mhm.
6, whatever it is?
7.
7. I could see my body go in front of me, and then it fell through the earth. And right after that, everything went straight to hell. And it's like- yeah, I was so frantic. So yeah, I was in the tent. I remember I ran out of the tent because I was like, oh fuck, I can't breathe. So I ran and get someone else that was on shrooms that's tripping. I'm like, dude, you have to help me. And so then I went back into the tent. I don't know why. I'd go back. So he's like, no, bro, you're breathing. You're fine. He said, I had this experience the first time. I did it too, or second time, whatever.
Mhm.
And once you're in that state of mind, you can't pull yourself out. I don't know. You just can't. Like,
You can.
yeah, once you're on the fast track to the bad news bears, you just can't come out of it.
I didn't go much into the negative aspect of it, so I
Yeah.
can't say really much on this, but yeah.
Yes, I don't know, some people had good trips, but either way, yeah, I ran out, got him. We came back. I thought I took my hoodie off like before we even started because it was so hot, But then I remember I was like, what in the fuck? Is this still on me? So I got pissed off and took it off. And that felt like literally shedding your skin. Like, it's not even, it's weird. Like, you just peel it off. And then I ran back outside and I puked on my feet. And so I was like, this is just not it. It's not good. So then I go back inside again, and pretty much, long story short, it was pretty weird, and you could just talk about it for hours, and you can't explain it to people that haven't fucking done it.
So what'd you learn?
What did I learn?
Did you learn anything? Was it spiritual at all?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I would just never do it again. You just don't know how to explain it. You really can't. You
Well,
can only explain the physical shit that happened.
Yeah, but you can explain some of the feelings to someone that's been through the experience before. At least to some degree, you can at least explain it to half the audience here.
This is how I could explain it. Imagine an exorcism, and this is like a genuine shit. I'm not even kidding you.
I believe you.
That's how bad off I was. I was rolling around in the sleeping bag, pouring water on my face and like on my body because I couldn't do anything. I was so frantic, and the only thing that helped me out of that shit was fucking Jakey. He came down and he's tripping nuts. And he grabs like clothes out of my bag and is like, put on some fucking clothes, we're getting you out of here. So then we're finally able to walk out, and you're just in such bad way. I'll never do them again. I won't touch them. And then after all this shit, it's not even like half of it. I had issues sleeping for a couple days. And then after that, I started to have like weird feelings in my room, whatever. And after that, I started dreaming about shit in my room in the exact spot of where I was feeling stuff.
No.
And there was other people involved in the house. They were also like, what the fuck is in your room? I'm not even, so. And that all stemmed from the shrooms, it did. Because it was bad news bears, and I won't fuck with them again.
Okay, so I'd like to roll off of that. I'd like to start where you ended. So I think one of the primary things to realize when doing shrooms after having had done them, it is not like drinking or smoking. It is not a party. It's not something that you do in an environment which is not conducive to what it creates for you. So it's a very intense experience, and I think you learn more in the after effects of it, in the instant after effects of it, than you do in weeks, months, if not years of learning practices in the traditional way. So I would say I wouldn't recommend it to someone, in the sense that it's not like something. Well, here's a way to describe it. I would say it's the drug of life, in the sense that it accelerates your learning in a direction. However, it's like this. So I had struggles with depression when I was younger. Now, looking back, I wouldn't trade those experiences for the world for what they taught me. But you wouldn't want to give someone that you know depression so that they could get out of it. I wouldn't, but I want to make this clear. I'm not putting shrooms on the same level as depression. They're not synonymous. Nothing's even close. But I did want to say that they're not something to be taken lightly. If you're going into an experience like this, be respectful of it, in the sense that I don't know how many people do this as well, but if you're respectful of a gun, you're pulling a philosophical trigger in some sense. You're delving into, I guess, the chaos of the unknown in your mind. So yeah, I would say for me specifically, I didn't have as negative as an experience on my first time as he did. There were parts of it where I felt that it wasn't as conducive and enjoyable as I would have hoped, in the sense that I wasn't learning and going in the path that I would have enjoyed. However, I think meditation and things prepared me, because when you're in that state, at least for me personally, I know that it's got to be personalized for everyone, so it's not something that you can generically say. But for me personally, it was a lot like I could see my emotion, I want to stress that I couldn't see things really. I did not have a lot of visual hallucinations to the degree that most people do. I saw things, this happened, da-da-da. It was more like, for me, there was more play in the joints. Things were maybe a little bit wavy, and I could imagine more fervently, I suppose you could say. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't have as an aggressive experience because I feel like I felt like my mind split in two, like the observer, the experiencer, and the rational side of me. And I could watch my emotions coming in some sense, like I could feel them coming. And I was like, if I felt like I was getting desperate, or if I felt like, oh, I don't want this, it was like, it was kind of a fleeting passing thought that my rational part of me allowed me to just kind of pass aside. And I think that was preparation for that was meditation. So thankful for that, because I could have easily ended up in what Logan approximated as hell. Anyway, my experience was the first time not as enjoyable. Well, let's see. It was nothing that I expected, more than I hoped, and not what I wanted. So I actually talked about this earlier, that I think an apt analogy would be your day-to-day life. The knowledge that you are acquiring or consuming, you could conceptualize as a cup of water. When you do shrooms, I would say it's like trying to swallow the ocean in one gulp. If you try to swallow, you're going to choke and drown. If you just kind of, I don't know, you kind of have to flow with it. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's close enough, I'd say. Anyway, for me personally, it was enjoyable in the sense that I explored some of my thoughts and philosophies that I had previously espoused, and this was before Jung, so I don't know what even I could conceptualize myself as now, if anything. But then there was a lot of just feeling of the unity of things, going back to that general premise for me and myself. And I'd been reading a lot into, what would you say, kind of spiritual notions of healing and things like on that level. So it was a very themed trip. One thing that I did not like about it, at least in the first iteration of it, was its duration. Guys, if someone tells you it's only a couple hours, you can tell them to F off.
Yeah.
It is
It's
literally
fucking forever.
an entire day experience, easily. From when I took them till past sundown, and I took them in the morning after I woke up, until past sundown, I was still in the trip. So this is not a thing that you could just casually do. I want to stress that heavily. But I also don't want to scare you away in the sense that I'm like, it's a negative thing, only negative, you shouldn't do it. I would say that it is the most one of, if not the most invaluable experience that I have had personally in growth terms. The second time, so the first time that I took it, how I was outward was fairly calm. Just bouncing that off of the people that I talked to about it afterwards, because wanted to make sure that I wasn't fronting in my own mind that I was calm. I was generally calm in mind and body, and just put on kind of mellow things. So I actually didn't vibe very well with the crowd either. And one of the things that you need to know going into it is it lets you feel other people's emotions and souls, if I believe in such a thing. I'm just using these words loosely. It's energy, whatever you want to call it. It lets you feel that. It takes down your barrier walls. So be with people that you are very, very comfortable with and can go on a growing experience with, because you will be part of them. And so I actually didn't vibe with the crew that we were with completely either. In my sober mind, I could have done it more easily because I'm fairly meshable. However, then it was not the case. So I went off on my own, hammocked for a while, watched the clouds, felt very profound. But the first time was nothing like the second. The second time, so the first time I was like, that was insane. I learned a lot. I would probably never do it again. And I wouldn't tell anyone that they should ever try it. Then the second time I did it, the second time
Never again came.
Yes, then never again came not too long ago. Because after a trip, you sound like a convert. Anyone else that is near you that has had that experience or went through that trip with you, like, it's on your mind all week. It's all you're talking about, because you can pull experience from it and you can learn from it for at least a week after. So anyway, you sound like a convert. It's on your mind a lot. Then came the next weekend. It turns out my recovery and my turnaround was very, very quickly. Anyway, so then I took it again.
Way less.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah. A much smaller dose I took this time. oddly enough, I got more visual effects from the second time on a smaller dose than I did the first time. However, this time I enjoyed it to such a degree that I would put it either just barely below how much I enjoy sobriety or on par. Very, what would you say? A very energetic and giddy feeling accompanied with a profound appreciation for all things, I suppose. There's times in your sober mind, at least, where you can feel very appreciative of the things around you. You know what I mean? It's like it usually happens after you've been humbled in some way or another through, I don't know, whatever, an illness or being stuck inside all winter or something. You come out and you're just like, I'm just thankful that I'm out here in nature and it's green. Mm-hmm. Things like that. It was like that, but on a broad scale for all things mostly. Then coming into the end of it, or I guess not the end, but past the peak, I feel like is a more reflective mode of being, where you can kind of start picking apart ideas and learning things. And I don't know who else has had a synonymous experience, but I found it very, very growing and very intriguing. It put me at ease and peace and what would you say? In profound appreciation for quite a while afterwards. To Xavier.
Oh dear. Okay, so everybody knows I do mushrooms quite often, and I do it a lot. So I'm pretty experienced with it. I enjoy it. I do believe everybody maybe not should try it once, but I definitely think it is beneficial. And, definitely the first couple trips are going to be interesting. You're not going to know what to do. But once you get to a certain level where you kind of experienced it and you know generally kind of what's going to happen and how to control the trip, then it becomes like a tool. Because like you said, I don't see it as a fun thing. It's not fun. Like it's not. It's beyond fun. Like when it's a good trip, it's not even fun. It's just
profound.
Yeah. Like, and I think I've told you guys the story of the most I've taken. I took 10 grams.
Oh my Jesus.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I would say.
I laid in the bed for 6 hours, and I traveled. I went to a completely different place. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. I don't know, a lot of my trips, I'd say the better ones, and it actually helped me get out of depression. And that's why I took it the first couple times, like, I guess say the middle of my journey with mushrooms, like the middle point. It kind of, when it's a good trip, it helps you get excited about life. It helps you see the whole everything in a completely different way. Makes you love people more. Makes you feel connected to the earth. Like you are part of the energy. Like you're just there. You're being. You're living. It's.
You described that so aptly.
I don't know.
That was a very good description. That was a very good description to someone who has felt it before, because it's hard to conceptualize or to put in words, but that was as close as I've heard it said.
It's gnarly. And the bad trips, like,
I haven't had fun
yet. I tripped a week ago, at my house. And I knew it was going to be a bad trip because I had something negative on my mind, and that's why I took them. Because I've got a store. I do it even though I like the bad trips.
Okay.
A lot of people don't get that, but I don't enjoy them. They're not fun. I do it to grow and get over things because it sends you to hell. You go to fucking hell. Just take every emotion and just times it by 1,000. You're feeling things so deeply, and everything too. When something's wrong, everything is wrong. You don't feel good. You can't see straight. It gets darker, like physically gets darker. The walls are like closing in. You don't even like to look at yourself. You fucking hate yourself.
Wow.
You're just ugly as shit.
I don't want
Don't
that
look
one.
in the mirror.
I did. I enjoyed it.
I know. A lot of people say that. Like, I get mixed reviews on it. Yeah. I like to do it just because I already know.
I think I might be a little bit more frou-frou, but personally, I fell in love with myself a little bit when I.
Yeah, it depends on what trip you're going on, though. If you're in a bad place and you look at yourself, you're like, "Holy fuck, I want to kill myself right now." But it's not like that. But it helps you digest those feelings and feel them so deeply, and then, like you said, on the tail end. So that's kind of when it. So a trip works like this: you take it right, and it slowly goes up. It's like a roller coaster, and then you get to the peak, which is like the middle of your trip, and that is the most intense part when you're feeling the most deep shit. And then kind of, I'd say the roller coaster would go down, and once you get to the center of the downtrend, that's when you start getting sick of the trip. You're like, I want it to end, but it also helps you to start kind of being okay with what you just went through. It helps you digest it and pick apart like different things and why you felt that and what you need to do to get over that. And so, that's why I did it, because I had something specific and I kind of went through it, and it helped me because towards the end of it, and I got through it, and I felt so much better about it, because you kind of resolve it through, you go to hell so you can come out of hell. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
The path to heaven leads through hell.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I quite like mushrooms just for that reason. It like you said, it kind of really, your barriers are gone. Mm-hmm. And the connection with people, that's a big thing. You can't be around certain people, and you immediately feel it too. It's not like when you go into a party and you're like, I'm not vibing with this, I don't like it. It's like that on 1,000 times again. It's just like, holy shit, nope, no way, get the fuck away from me.
I was actually
don't put your energy around me.
I was actually going to ask you this, but it sounds like you kind of described or you kind of answered my question. I was going to ask you, do you feel like you had like a profound release of baggage in a lot of senses? And it sounds like you did, at least in the depression sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, it's like letting go of things and gaining a bunch of new insights of what and how exciting life can be and how beautiful life is.
Yeah, I was getting, I don't know if you saw, I was getting really excited when you were talking about that, because I felt that very extremely. So I felt the need and want for connection and like exponential amount of love for my people on the tail end of the first trip, because like you were talking, you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready for it to be over. Mm-hmm. I had like a homesickness for my sober mind. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna freak out about it, but God, I really wish I could be back today.
And you want to go to sleep so bad, you're just like, please just let me go to sleep and wake up and have it be all over and I can be sober again.
Yeah, then near like the very end of it, I was like, my people are amazing. I really need to tell them how much I appreciate them.
Every time I do it, I want to call like every single person that I love and just be like, I love you so goddamn much.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's gnarly.
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting. But I definitely felt like that rejuvenation of childlike joy for being like, and that's, I think, the most apt way to describe it after it was that just this feeling of like, who I did it with was talking about this too. It was like, do you remember when you were a kid, when you just, everything was an adventure to you? Mm-hmm. Because, the world was unexplored and there were no limits. Well, there still aren't, but you've made a bunch of them in your mind in many different ways. Anyway, so after that, you kind of feel that opening up of possibilities where it's like, I still have that ability, you know what I mean? And it just kind of, we ended up going on like hikes and I think that's one of the reasons that people tend to say do it in a scenic place or on a hike or something. It kind of gives you that, I guess, that release of where you need to release that type of energy that's just kind of like profound recognition and adventure and happiness to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly the theme of the place you're at, and what's going on in your mind will dictate your trip. Mm-hmm. That's why when you're saying you can't control
environment is
you
everything.
Can, but it depends on what's in your mind. You choose. It's like choose your own adventure. You know what I mean?
Logan, you were on an epic quest to defeat the Dark Lord.
Oh yeah, you jumped straight into the pits of fiery demons in hell for that one for sure. But
yeah, and I think I was actually wanting to broach this a little bit too, from what you were saying with you feeling presences in your room and things. I think personally, and you can tell me if I'm broaching this wrong or if you think this is approximating what the truth is, you generally are more sensitive to that type of stuff anyway. And when you lower the walls and barriers, I wouldn't say that you got a spiritual STD, but you were out there and it kind of opened up the floodgates a little bit more. And maybe, do you think it maybe enhanced that to where you can feel things more, or do you think it was just kind of you went to the depths and you had a friend?
I think it was connected to the shroom strip.
Yeah.
100%. Because it was that bad.
I think you're more sensitive to energy now.
Yeah, no.
Well, I was beforehand, like, aggressively sensitive to it. But now, yeah, it's still, like...
Is it more now? Would you say your sensitivity to it?
I don't know, because it happened right as I came back to it, which it might be because I dreamt about it with other people in this household, like, connected to it directly. And I was like...
Wait, you're saying,
You're a
like, people in this household knew about it and were like, what the heck? Or what?
In my dream, yeah, we were having conversations about it, and they wouldn't go back there. Like, they
Oh.
wouldn't go in that area at all. You're
Mm.
like, yeah, same.
So
to
it
sage
gave you a
your
hard
room.
time sleeping, huh? For a while.
Yeah, it was like a week. The first 2 nights, I just didn't, like, pretty much at all. And then after that, it would gradually get better.
So you're Gucci now.
No, whatever's in there is still chilling. Like, truthfully, but
Yeah,
it
not
hasn't
good at
bothered
all.
me now.
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I would just never, ever
Well,
touch them again, and I don't want to be in the presence of people that do them.
Well,
No,
we,
like,
we
so-
definitely. So we do have a
That
friend
arguing
down
them
here.
is what you're looking for.
Anytime I'm in a bad mood or negativity or anything, I'm pissed off, whatever. Oh yeah, we've got a friend. You've got a friend in me. Just
Yeah.
I know this
whatever.
is kind of jackknifed off the side too, but I was actually wanted to run this by you as well, Xavier, as you were more experienced in this mode of being. I feel as if shrooms are not something that one does. It kind of
Shrooms do you.
Shrooms
yes,
do
in the
you.
sense that it was a hill in your path, and you just experienced that hill through shrooms. Like you were already going to go through that progressive phase. You just ended up looking at it through this lens, and that's how
Just
you
did it in 12 hours rather than a few months.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
how it's kind of it's like going around the mountain.
Yeah.
Sort of, but it's still rough. It's still like,
like
you climb
tunneling
It's
the
like
through
mountain.
burrowing through it.
Yeah. Instead of climbing the mountain just slaps you right in the fucking face, and then it's like, okay, now you're on the other side. Fuck.
So Logan, you say
the
never
mountains-
ever will you do them again.
not
Never.
ever.
There's
Not
there's
a microdose, you
there's
couldn't
nothing
look
that
at
would
them.
even
Nope.
No, you could
change
never.
your brain.
Not
Are
even
you
if
sure?
Bill Gates offered me $1 billion, I wouldn't do them. I have no interest. And even being around them, I don't want it.
Really? So
Well-
if there's people tripping around you, you don't want it.
I don't
Well, I
want
think
it.
I think
Not
you can
unless
feel
I was
it.
there to
Yeah.
specifically help
Right.
for
right.
that one person, but I don't want to be around it. I fucking hate it. All of it.
I keep telling everybody, have a trip sitter that's sober when you do it. Nobody fucking listens.
Yeah.
They all just jump right into
the,
it.
the issue with this is it was so off the fly. Like, we woke up, went outside. Shrooms, anyone? Yeah.
See, I
do
think
that.
I was
You
gonna
can't
say.
do
I think
that.
I,
That's
not
I was
how
gonna
you
say.
do
I
it.
think that's one
Oh,
of the
that's
reasons
the
that you
good
had a bad trip.
stuff.
Yeah.
I actually think that's one of the reasons that you had a bad trip because you were somewhat hesitant to begin with. I went into this weekend thinking if the opportunity arises, I would like to go about it respectfully and do them. And then when it happened, I was like, I was a little on the fence. And then I was like, I've wanted to have this experience. I don't know when the opportunity will arise again. I will take it. You were like, oh shit, fuck, I guess we're doing it. And then we did it.
Yeah.
It sounds
And
like
I smoked weed before.
I didn't do that.
beforehand.
I
I did too.
said, I said no, thank you.
We just did.
I wanted the experience unadulterated.
We did shots right after too. We, as in me and
Yeah.
some other friends.
I did no other
So,
thing. I
that
accompanied
was
it. I
fucked.
accompanied it with nothing.
it just sounds like you need to do it the right way.
I don't
Or don't
want
do it. Or don't do it again.
Never.
Just don't do it again.
You just did all the wrong things.
Exactly.
You don't drink on mushrooms. You only smoke weed if you're experienced, because it'll completely send you in a whole different way. Like, I don't like mixing it with anything.
Something cool that happened is we had people there that they like Viking music for some reason.
We don't
So
even
I
talk
seen
about
a chariot in the woods. So that was cool. Yeah. The mountains would pulsate. They had a heartbeat. That was cool.
That makes sense.
All the
Everything-
trees, it was like bright
They breathe.
green. Yeah.
Mhm.
so
Everything breathes. It's real weird.
that
I
was
felt like
cool.
I saw like I didn't see many visuals, but what I did was just like a more idyllic version. Like I just kind of saw the pattern in things a bit more, I would say, and just like a bit of radiance on the crests of mountains and a bit more fluidity in the clouds. Just kind of an accent to things, nothing extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. It's always different. It's always crazy. Like this last trip that I went on, and it was bad, and I was like kind of freaking out. So I was like, okay, all right, I'm okay. And I was like sitting on my couch, and I just put my face in the floor. I just laid down on my stomach in the floor, put my hands on my eyes, and closed my eyes. And I saw a being he had his hands out, both sides, no face, anything. You could see the chakras. And there was a bright light in the middle of his forehead, bright lights on his hands, and then 2 planets right by his hands, like down by his sides.
See,
in a dark, like, universe. It was interesting.
Man, I want those visuals, but
At what cost?
at what cost? Yeah, I want those visuals, and I don't know. I still want to go about it very respectfully. So the thing is, it's like each time that I got out of a trip, I felt this feeling that it was like, okay, I just dropped a lot of baggage and changed pretty much the entirety of my makeup. I like what I am now. I know if I go into that again, it will change drastically, almost a complete 180. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. It's very weird. It's very weird to go into like. So I enjoyed it profoundly, but after both trips, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it again.
Yeah.
It's not like something that you're like, yeah, that was fucking rad. Let's all go take shots again. It's like, holy fuck. I just got hit by a metaphorical train, and now I need to think about this and maybe get some counseling.
You could go off it for 5 years and not blink an eye.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's not something you need to do.
No, and it's not something that people can get addicted to either. No. I think this is a good preface and a good thing to bring up is you actually cannot get addicted to shrooms. Nope. Your body, you'd have to double it each day to get any effects.
Yep, it's true.
Your body builds up an antibody, or it builds up a tolerance to it so quickly that you would have to double each day to get any effect.
Yeah, so basically if you do 5 grams of mushrooms and you do 5 grams the next day, you're not going to have near that trip. It's going to be like a lower thing. And back to the visual thing. Sorry, this is jumping completely back off topic.
Does your body go back to where if you only do it every so often, then it's still effective?
It regains it. That's why it's probably, I'm not sure exactly the time, but if you were to space it, it'd probably be a month. You'd probably have to wait a month to get the same effect as you would.
Interesting.
So it's not, you can't, if you keep doing it, you'll just completely, nothing will happen after that. You'll just get sick and you'll throw up.
Right.
Actually, that is pretty common anyway, is it not?
Throwing up?
I had no issues either time, and I have a pretty irritable stomach, but a lot of people that we were with, at least the first time, did have that issue.
Definitely. And back to the visual thing. Mm-hmm. So if you do want certain visuals, you have to look up certain mushrooms, because it's kind of like weed, how there's strains. That's the same with mushrooms. Some of them will give you a huge body high and a mind high, and some will make the visuals more intense. It's kind of different.
And you can tell me if this was superstition or not, but I heard that the caps were more visual and the stems were more body.
That's not true.
That's a myth.
No, yeah, that's a myth.
Huge
but
myth.
The caps,
just the strains.
The caps are stronger. So if you got a bag of full caps as opposed to stems, it would be more potent.
To what degree would you say? Times 2, or it just generally stronger? Who knows?
I just know it's stronger. It holds more of those.
The spores or the
whatever.
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Oh,
yeah. The higher concentrated. So, but yeah.
That's trippy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this too, though. On the second one, I was thinking about. I had this weird epiphany that I felt like. I felt like no one was alone, but everyone felt like they were, and if I could encapsulate that from the trip, I would like to give that to everyone. I was thinking about that, but I was like, also, I don't want everyone to go through the exact same things that I have to get that experience, and I don't think that there's even a conceptual universe in which anyone would take it and have that exact same feeling. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so personalized. It's like religion in a lot of senses, I would say. Mm-hmm. People tend to think that they go to the same church, so they have the same religion. It's not so.
It's a lie, Stephen.
Yes, your God is in your mind. At least, or Mine was. He's dead now, I guess.
I killed him in a daydream. So.
Okay, come. What do you do after that? What
What-
do you even do in life after that?
You know, I've been trying to find that out. Tell me when you get an answer. And I would also like to state that I don't negate the fact or the idea of a God and a transcendence. I just feel like my conceptualization of it is dissolved now. Yeah, I don't know. Jung's idea of all of religion, spirituality, your soul, everything. It's like everything is personalized. It's like you are not a human. You're not a person until you've integrated yourself. That's like what? Yeah, he's like it's called what would you say? Possession by the anima or animus, which is like the feminine or masculine side of a man or a woman. You're possessed by that ideal, and you don't become a full person until you integrate the feminine side of a man or the masculine side of a woman. In some sense, it's very wild.
Kind of becoming one with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Becoming yourself.
Yes, and he talks about like there is, you are not. What would you say? You have no genuine knowledge until you steal it from yourself, essentially by delving into that. There's not. Everything else is just. What would you say? A conceptualization, a learned conceptualization from other thoughts of other people who may have been actual people and not just animus possessed ghosts.
I definitely believe people know a lot more than they think they know.
Yeah, like I
They have a
think
lot
so
more
too.
knowledge.
Likely, yeah. Yeah, for sure, actually.
And understanding. They just don't understand that they understand. If that makes sense.
You don't know that you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And shrooms helps you unlock that understanding a little more, or can.
Yeah, it can. It doesn't just do that, but you just have to be thinking about that and digging
Right.
for that to get that.
Yeah. Another cool thing that happened was, and I think this is where the actual trip went to shit. Because at first I was just laying in the bed and it was going super well, and then my mind created a circle of everything in my body and what was good, what was bad, and it would go to every single, like a little orb thingy, would go to every single part of my body, like hands, feet, head, etc., etc. And if it was good or clear, then it would just move right on. Until one thing, and I don't know what it was, but it stopped right there, and it kept on trying to get past, and after that, it just, boom, everything went straight to shit. So,
Well, that's
So
way.
I don't know what it
that's
was.
extremely
Your third
profound.
eye just wide open.
yeah, so I don't know.
That's
what-
extremely profound.
Yeah, I was
try and
gonna say,
meditate.
wow.
Try and meditate on that thought to remember what that was, because some
I
part of
don't
you been being fucked. It sounds like.
There's something
Yeah.
blocked.
Yeah, there really is. It just wasn't good.
The super
You know what
drains
helps
got
with
real backed
blockages,
up.
Logan?
Shitting enemas.
Shrooms. No, you gotta try DMT next.
Oh my God!
No,
Whoa.
okay. I definitely want to do it.
I
but
do
I,
do
I,
it.
don't-
I would-
I
I
would
would-
not recommend that.
I would not recommend that because that seems so extreme. But I would probably do it with you. I
Yes.
don't know. So here's my thing. I'm very. I don't think I would try acid because it's like $5 a tab. It's like who's mixing that in their bathtub? I don't know what's in there. That's not right.
I've thrown up blood from fake acid before.
Oh!
It's not good.
That's
don't
not
do
what
acid.
you want.
No.
Yeah, no. That's why I went. I wanted the experience, the archetypal kind of experience, and that's why I went to shrooms because I heard it's very personally integrating like that. Where I've heard like acid is like a different type of like a connectedness, like a happy and more like uppity, energizing type of a deal.
I would describe it as this way. Acid is more, okay, just on a like a
Yeah.
huge scale, right? Mushrooms is a forest, peaceful forest. Acid is like New York City. And acid is nowhere profound. It doesn't give you any spiritual connection. It's just visuals. That's it.
Really?
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's just not the same. I don't like acid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take it anymore. I haven't done it for a couple of years. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything, and it feels gross. I feel gross when I do it, you know?
Really?
Yep. DMT, definitely want to try that though.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready for that.
I
it's
know.
a 10-minute trip and it's intense.
Okay.
As fuck.
Yeah. Well, here we should delve into this a little bit
10
because I've done
minutes.
some research.
Probably feels like hours.
No, people say that they've lived entire lifetimes
Yep.
before they came back. I do not want to go out there, wake up as a baby, live my life, have a family and kids, die in my dream trip, and be like, "Oh, well, that was nice."
The most common theme on DMT is that you talk to someone. You speak to a different being.
Yeah, I've actually heard that.
You meet someone.
It's the elves.
It's
Yes,
the,
actually,
it's
the
the
DMT
pixies.
elves. That's actually
Yeah.
a thing.
I want to meet them.
I would like to know if they would like to meet me before I meet them.
They just kill
I need
you.
a proxy.
They just be reaching down to you. There is now a level 0. Dang it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, man, you really could sit and talk about. It's almost an inexhaustible thing. You could. Well, no,
I'm
that's not
exhausted
true.
just hearing about it. It
Yeah.
sounds rough.
Yeah, I'm trying to not get too excited about mushrooms and talking about it because I could go on forever.
Yeah, we'll definitely we will kumbaya after this session.
Oh, we shall.
Regardless, what is next?
Oh.
What about you people? What's
My
going
brain
on
is
here?
starting to fry.
Oh really?
I'm getting exhausted.
Exacerbated, huh?
What time are we looking at?
That's exactly what I was checking.
Let's see how much time we got here. Probably about an hour, hour and a half right now.
I don't think it's quite that long.
Okay, so 76 minutes.
Oh.
Creeping up on an hour and a half.
We've been about an hour and a half.
If you're ready to stop it, that's chill too. But I was thinking it
No.
might be fun to jump into something a little more energetic to end on a high note.
Yeah, let's. What were you thinking
What was I thinking?
for something a little more energetic?
It would be a little bit more aggressive, but I was just thinking we could just play Duck, Duck, Goose with our subconscious and say, what's the first thing that's on your mind? Go. You stopped. You hesitated too long.
This could be interesting.
We could play hot potato with the back parts of our mind. I think it sounds kind of fun.
That might be interesting.
I think it might be a bit too revealing, but
The problem is that you'd have to do it with keeping it in mind that YouTube could ban
oh
you,
yeah,
you know?
oh yeah. No, it would definitely go downhill. I think generally the things that are on the forefront or the forefront of the back half of my mind would be more vulgar or likely sexual, just because I'm a man and that's who I feel to be.
Probably. So what other energetic thing are you thinking of doing?
I don't know. That sounded pretty hype, but I don't know.
That would be pretty high, but we wouldn't want to have to cut half your video out again.
I know. It was fun though. It was so fun. It was
For the last-
damn nigh. I say worth it.
That was fun for sure.
I don't know. What Logan? Pull something. Give us something fun, something hype. You boy,
I can't think of anything now. I'm just thinking about shrooms.
So tell us more about shrooms.
Yeah.
Have you thought like really hard what that one thing was that was blocking you? Do you even know?
No clue.
Try thinking hard on it. I want to know what it was that blocked you. So what was clear? What did it pass?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
It was doing it itself. It wasn't naming off what this is right now. It was just something. Yeah,
Shit's
yeah.
clearing, and we have a backup. Oh fuck, we're flooding.
Shit.
Yeah.
Dive.
Self-destruct.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
sounds terrible.
it was.
Especially the part seeing your chakras or whatever drop to the earth.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
Lord,
weird.
that would send me reeling.
They're just gone. Okay.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I felt like there was actually multiple times where I had to be like, I went to grab on to something, at least in like my mind. And then I was like, right before I grabbed, I had that, because I said that I felt like I split into two in some sense, where I was like the rational mind and the other mind was like, right before I grabbed it, every single time it was like, don't fucking do that. If you grab the bowl, it's going to take you with it. And so I was like, then it was like, every time it was like, okay, just let it go. Feel this experience, let it flow through you and past you. That's how I didn't fall to that. Because I felt like, so I would say this too. While I was on my trip, I feel like I was on like a 1-lane road that went into infinity, and off to one side, I could see if I just made a slight correction of the wheel, I could go past Logan, right past him into the outer darkness of hell, or the opposite. I feel like I could go so up into enlightenment that I would just integrate into light. So I was like, it's like, oh, this
Just in a little minivan. Stay on the road. Stay on the road.
But yeah, I don't know if you felt that as well, but I feel like I can see how I could go that way. Like when I was in it, I don't know if you felt that where it's like, oh, I could see exactly the path that you would go down to end up right there.
Yeah, like you get to a point where you know what's gonna trigger you, for sure. Dude, the worst trip I've ever had though was actually on acid, not mushrooms.
Yeah.
One time, it was really bad. I just was in a bad state, and I looked down at my arms, and my hairs started turning into spiders.
Oh, no way! You got Hollywood fucked. That's too
so
bad.
hard, dude. Oh, it was bad. Yeah,
That
and
was
there was
another-
more stuff that happened, but it's graphic, and I can't talk about it.
Oh, that's rough.
It was
That
bad.
was an issue I had too. I had bugs in my face.
What?
Like crawling through my eye.
Dude, he had a rough trip.
It sounds
You
like
what?
I was like listening to
We
some of the
talked about
stuff.
that.
I'm like,
Did we?
It was when
fuck.
we were all sitting outside next
I
to the
didn't-
trailer.
I wasn't.
like
I
he's
wasn't much
peeling
there
his
for
skin
that. I
off
was
and
there
it's
with you,
like,
but
yeah,
I
that
was
sounds
looking
brutal
off
as
and
fuck.
other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember coming down to you from on high though. I remember coming down from the mountain with the tablets, and I opened up the tent to see idols everywhere. Yeah, I remember you in a bad shape, and I remember you're like, I'm okay, right? Am I okay? And I was like, it's all right. Just breathe. You're all right. And I remember being there, and I could feel their vibes because they're very anxious people usually, and so I was like, okay, I love you guys, but you need to get out of this tent, leave. And then I was
Leave
like,
this space.
and I was like, put my hand on his chest. I was like, look, feel your chest. You're breathing. I can feel that you're breathing. You're all right, but you're stuck in this dark hole, and you're stuck in this dark hole because you're in a dark tent. I said, put your clothes on. He's like, I don't even know where they are. So I remember putting clothes on your lap. You're like, put these on. We're going outside. And you're like, I don't know about that. Put your clothes on. We're leaving. Then we went outside, and I was like, this is much better, huh? And the breeze and the light and everything was probably like coming out of the cave, huh? It was probably nice.
Getting birthed.
But I remember even being in there for a few seconds with you, I was like, oh, fuck this. I could feel myself getting all trapped and claustrophobic. I was like, I will not be in the dark in the sun because it was so fucking hot out there. I don't
It
think
is
it was
so
literal
windy.
desert, mid-desert. There was not a lot of foresight into the heat
That was
and
like
hatred there.
Fillmore, Scipio area, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just desert.
Yeah, it was definitely
Definitely
that way.
in the desert.
And I would say this too. Maybe that's not my least desirable part of my trip. Second least desirable part of the first trip was I was laying, because it went, like I said, all the way into the night. I was laying in the tent, and it was so effing windy that the tent kept folding over. This isn't like a not sturdy tent, but it kept folding over. And so there was like, I was like wrapped up, just like, please, everyone leave me alone. And the wind's just whipping the tent in, like the sides all close to me. Mm-hmm. And I was just like kind of curled into myself, and I was like, I'm okay, but this fucking sucks. And then the tent collapsed in on me. I was like, this is hell. I remember
sucks.
getting up to lift it, but nothing like I was actually in hell. It was just like, this is gay.
Have you ever had, did you on your trip have any, like, hearing differences?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
now that you mention
Like
it,
auditory hallucinations or what?
Oh, yeah, dude. I was sitting in my room once and listening to people talk outside my door. I swear to God, it was a different language. I swear. It was
I
like,
actually had that exact same experience. I had that exact same experience, and I couldn't fucking make it out. And I was like, I remember looking at one of these people because they were talking in my peripheral, and I was like, there's no fucking way. I was like, no, I know they don't speak another language. I was like waiting, and then like I had to focus in on it for it to start to become legible. I was like, okay, that was a little bit fucked. But I actually noticed if I focused on my hearing, like it felt like everything else fell away.
Yeah.
And I could just enhance on that. And near the end of my trip, one of the people that I do vibe with ended up coming up with me, and he's like, dude, I feel like I miss you for so long. I was like, bro, I just love you so much. We're sitting there. It's like, I just miss my people, and you're my people. And so we're sitting there. It was like connecting with, this sounds weird, but I was like connecting with the spirits of the trees and shit. It was like, I felt very, very profoundly thankful that this tree had been put on this earth to hold my hammock.
Oh, dude. Definitely seen the trees dance.
Oh yeah, it was definitely
We
interesting.
just got finished saying good morning.
With the
The auditory hallucinations.
yeah, it's weird because we're all at a group or kind of in a group at the end where we're all walking around and like different directions, just talking, and you really can't understand them. Like, you think they are speaking something else, and it's either are they
demons
speaking
speaking in
gibberish
tongues.
like a literal child, or are you so fucked that you can't do it? And you're speaking to yourself too, and to where everyone is like exactly what you did, like, walking around in circles, fucking tripping, dude. It's so scary.
I loved it. I would say this too. On the end of my second trip, I felt for some reason more sober than I had been in my sober mind for months. It was like a hyper sober. I was like, I feel sharper than a tack and just like so present. It was very cool.
Do you feel like more concrete? That's a thing that I get out of almost every trip is like
Near the end, or
yeah, well, not even towards the end, but just like throughout the trip or like at the end or after the trip, like the ideas you think about and the truths that you know. Like when I was saying it, people know stuff, they understand stuff, but they don't know that they know it.
Yeah.
But once you figure that out, you know. Instead
Yes.
of having like doubts, you just know.
yeah, actually, I know exactly what you're talking about. So near the end, that me and said person that I was vibing with, were talking about exactly that. It's like I felt like a bunch of the thoughts that I had taken in and knowledge that I had taken in and had made loose connections between, I realized in the trip and could hold them like as an objective thing in my mind, and it just made the connections were like lightning fast, and then it was like this is this and this is this and this is this, and then it solidified those ideas for sure, and especially near the end, and because I feel like I felt a general sense of fluidity on my first trip through the beginning and middle stages of it, because in my mind it's kind of like a sea of chaos. It just depends on how you take the waves. If you take the waves broadside, you're tipping under. Logan definitely took a broadside wave. My waters were pretty clear. So.
His boat already had holes.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. He went in with faulty equipment.
User error.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it's hard because I know that you two over there are just like, wow, this sounds like generally cool, but it's not all of this. I don't know. Just without the backing of it, it probably just sounds like fucking psychobabble. Or do you feel any which way of it?
Yeah, how do you feel
Yeah,
about
how do you
this?
feel about it?
Let's hear from you.
I think that hallucinogenics are and can be used as a very great tool to progress the spirituality of an individual. That's how I feel about it. Have I done them? No. Do I plan on doing them? We'll see. But I think whether I enjoy it or not, it could definitely provide some interesting insights because I like new experience.
Mm-hmm. Jesse?
You know?
I have no context for understanding this conversation.
It probably
Nothing
sounds
at all.
cool, huh?
Yeah,
Like
except
from
for
an
the scary
outside
shit. Bugs crawling through my face isn't enough for me.
Yeah,
to
no,
never
I
get
didn't
touch
have
it.
anything
just
like
like,
that.
no.
I would be very upset with the Lord if that
just-
happened to me.
I have zero context for this conversation, so I don't know.
Okay,
How did I
but
put
just
this
you
earlier?
personally, does it contain any allure for you?
It sounds neat, but then the downsides are too down for me.
They're pretty far down.
Yeah.
Do you know it's safer than weed?
I'm sure it is. It's not about being safe.
I would so disagree
It's
with
safer
that.
than weed?
I would so disagree with that. But maybe
Physically.
physically. Yeah. I was gonna say
But your fear of
psychologically.
Oh, yeah. No, not. I'm not talking about that. No, that's dangerous.
Just need some
Here, partake
therapy
of
after
ego
that.
death, good sir. Yeah,
Ugh.
very
Do
interesting.
you know what an ego death is?
Yeah, I know you don't usually get it off that. I know you get it off ayahuasca and stuff, but it's like it's the feeling of. Actually, I feel like I might have had the peripherals of it. It's like the disintegration. It's like experiencing the world in the absence of you and knowing that it is still harmonious. To some degree, that might be a shitty description. Give me a good one.
I don't know what it is.
Oh.
I'm not. I've looked into it a lot, but it's kind of. It's one of those things where you have to have it
Yeah.
to know,
Yeah.
and you have to take a lot. You can have it on mushrooms, but you have to take it a lot. You can have it on DMT.
I've heard it's pretty prolific in ayahuasca.
Oh,
though.
it changes your life.
Oh, I've heard it's prolific, like it changes literally everything. But I'm saying I've heard that was the wrong word.
Like
on
it was
my part.
easier to access through ayahuasca.
Yes, yes.
I'm not completely sure what ayahuasca is or peyote.
Ayahuasca is like a mix of 2 different plants from the Amazon.
Yeah. So it's like the sticks and the leaves, and then you have to take them both for it to activate the certain chemicals.
Well, you have to put them into a tea on a very specific heat for a very specific amount of time. Like they were actually talking about, they're like, how in the hell? Because it's like a passed down recipe from the tribes. Yeah, ritual from the tribesmen and the shamans in the tribes, and scientists were like, so where did you get this? Because these come from 2 completely different areas on different sides of the forest that have nothing in common. They're like, oh, well, the plants told us.
Of course they did.
Yes. Anyway, interesting stuff.
That sounds wild.
It does.
I think, is peyote a cactus?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it is a cactus.
So there are different regions. I'd have to look into it.
Mushroom.
That's totally what that was referring to, too.
Oh, yeah.
No question.
Oh, man. Yeah, anyway, I was just wondering what you guys were feeling
Logan was
about
going to
it.
add something.
Oh, were you?
What? You were going to add something, and then we got to talking about other stuff, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Not
not. Anyway. You were saying, Jake?
Yeah, something. I was saying something. Always am.
To us?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I was just kind of wondering what your guys' general feeling on it is, because I can't even imagine myself back then now, after I've gone through the precipice. Like, I remember vaguely feeling like, oh, this is probably crazy and cool, and this is probably like, and then I listened to Peterson, and I was like, oh, this is probably serious. And then I was like, and I'm probably going to take these because it seems like an experience that I would really like to have. And I had been scheming on it for years, and then it was like, it's happening. Then I was like, holy fuck, that's nothing that I expected. I was just wondering what your guys is like, if I felt like a very strong draw to it, even before I had smoked even my first time or drank even my first time. But
Yeah.
They kind of explained it, though. Like you were saying, like, you believe it could be good.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have nothing against it, and I definitely believe it could be used as an amazing tool in spiritual growth. And it also makes me wonder, I mean, without having experienced it, I wouldn't know, but it makes me wonder how beneficial it is versus doing it the old-fashioned way, you know?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying. Like, if through learned experience, you might gain more insight than a general glossing over and a general insight. Is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah, basically, if you've got this life of learned experience, if you're gonna come out more on top, if you had done that as well as do some shrooms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the mix of both, for sure.
Yeah,
But-
I believe it.
Yeah.
I'd be open to it one day, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd say
Me
do
now,
weed
I wish.
first.
Really?
Try weed before you do it.
Not even close.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't. I actually don't. I
Not at all.
actually
but
didn't really
it'll
enjoy.
Give you an experience of being out of your fucking mind. For the
Oh,
first-
I see what
for
you're
the
saying.
first
I see
time
what
at
you're
least.
saying. It'll let you step out of your normal perception.
Yeah, instead
because
of
it's
just going
just-
straight to shrooms and being oh fuck,
We're on the
going
moon.
rocket ship to Venus.
Without even climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, you just take a
Yeah.
rocket to Saturn.
Just try weed first, or don't do them.
I actually hate weed.
I actually don't enjoy it that much. And another thing that I was going to say is shrooms gave me, at least the second time, a large aversion to it. My want to drink and to smoke nearly dropped off the face of the earth. And then also it changed on the second time, it changed my entire relationship with food.
You want to eat healthy the whole time.
Yeah.
You just want to eat fruits and
Yeah,
vegetables.
yeah.
That's
Like when
it.
I was
Yeah.
on the trip, I really wasn't hungry, but afterwards it's like it changed my relationship to food, because I used to lust in it to some degree, where it's just like, oh, food, yeah, this is great. Now it's just like
burger.
Now it's just like, I mean, it's sustenance. I like food and it's still delicious, but it's like, it's not the same thing. It's very weird.
I got a different thing. My body craves healthy stuff. Like I want to eat natural.
Yeah, I actually
whenever
felt
get
that way.
booze.
Well, I haven't been able to eat as much junk food or anything like that. I have like it repulses me in some way. I don't know. Very weird.
Dang.
I want something hype at the end. Come on, let me do it. Let's play hot potato with our minds. It would be fun. You would say some wild shit.
It might just get cut out, but go ahead.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
Me start?
Let's get hype. Sure.
No, Jess start. 1, 2, 3, go. What's on your mind?
I'm done.
Oh, okay. Jesse.
Oh,
Go.
perfect.
Now Noah.
Airplanes and crashing.
Swords.
Really?
Logan, go.
The gym.
Penises. Jesse.
Okay.
Now penises.
Noah, go.
Actually, nothing at that moment.
Nothing.
I was like, nothing.
Mind Blake. Zave.
Charleston chews.
Wow.
Logan.
That's fire.
Milky Way.
Huh?
Milky Way. That inspired me.
Chocolate. Jess. Go
Stars
fast.
now.
Stars. Visiting with Jake Kelch this weekend was dope.
Zave.
Nuts. The food kind.
Movies.
Oh, fucking TV. Go, Jess.
Nothing.
Teeth.
Stars.
Water.
The texture of my tongue. Jess.
That is wild.
Why does weed make you so thirsty?
Oh,
That's
so
cool.
fucking
Because it's
thirsty.
like beyond like where you think you're gonna die off. Please.
I think it has to do
Water.
with. I think it has to do with how it changes your blood flow. So at the beginning, when you smoke, your heart starts to pound really fast,
Yeah.
and it pumps it through your system, and then it slows down. And so I think it's something to do with
Is it that or because you're open mouth laughing for 4 hours?
Probably that
I'm
too.
looking it up. I'm interested now.
But
It really
I
is a
wanted to
good
keep
question,
going
'cause
on
you
that.
go
That was
from,
hype.
From chilling to, oh my God, I'm going to pass away if I don't get water now. It's insane.
Yeah, it's maybe the most thirsty I've ever been in my life after drinking 7 cups of water, sitting there, just still the Sahara Desert, just like all the way down. I can feel it. Oh.
It's so thirsty.
A common thing with smoking for me too is it's like I can feel it. It ends up annoying me because I can feel my tongue all the way down into my stomach pretty much. It's not my favorite thing. The reason that I said the texture of my tongue is because you said teeth, and it made me think of biting my teeth and then my mouth and then the texture of your tongue, like
Yeah.
folded in half. What, you don't want to feel your tongue? That's fucked.
No,
Also, you can't taste your own tongue. Imagine that.
this is correct.
Did you bite hard enough?
No,
But
then you're
you taste
tasting
some
blood.
I was gonna say I did finish Midnight Gospel.
Oh yes, fuck yes. That's what we were going to talk about.
okay,
That's
let's
hype.
go on that.
Yes.
But first, okay, you get dry mouth because it cuts off the circulation, blood flow, like you're saying, to your saliva glands.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
That's
weird.
makes sense. So I watched Midnight Gospel.
I turned my phone off.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, go. Midnight Gospel.
I did not
what?
like
It's
the
not
first
me.
half. Okay, I was confused. I didn't understand. I was like, okay, what the hell is this? And then I kept watching. And I was like, okay, it's got good morals. Great. There's morals within this podcast. This
Space cast.
freaking this crazy cartoon and anyway, yeah, I was like, all right, this is weird and it's got good morals, whatever. And then at the
last episode?
towards the end, it started getting a little better, and I was like, okay, so they're getting a little more spiritual with it. This is dope. And the last episode, it affected me in a way that I haven't because I haven't experienced it before where they're talking about presence, holding presence, and I was like, interesting. And they said basically feel the inside of your arms and legs, and that's what's known as presence. And I've never had presence in that manner. I've never achieved presence in that specific manner, and so I tried it, and I was like, this is interesting. And I've tried it a couple times since then, and it does just put you right then and there. That's it. Very interesting.
What did you think of the entire last episode? Because that's the one that I was telling you. That's maybe the only. No, I think that's the only time with any movie or anything like that I legitimately sobbed.
Yeah.
Like a baby. Yeah.
It was actually pretty freaking cool. The whole life cycle of everything.
It was weird, but it was
actually
cool.
I don't know that I actually finished it. I think I got to where they were planets, and then I don't know that I finished the last 8 minutes. It was before I went down to St. George.
that's-
so I need to finish that.
But anyway, yeah,
But
that
like,
podcast.
their whole
yeah.
life cycle, and everything, I was like, that is.
The
Very
audio from that
intriguing.
podcast was actually him talking to his mom, and that's like the last time they talked before she died from or cancer. Or
Right,
whatever,
and when they're all crying
or
about
one of the
cancer
last
and
times.
stuff, I understand. You know.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
I was like, oh man, that's sad.
I wasn't connecting to that. I was just connecting to that. It was like, I don't know. Just it felt weird. She was like, and then like when it says like you cry, and then I was all nah.
Yeah.
Ended up bawling like a baby.
That
It hit
was
me
cool.
weird.
It was like, how do you cleanse yourself? You cry, and he's crying a ball. All right.
It hit me way
Makes
different.
sense.
Like I sobbed like a baby. It was pretty rough.
It didn't hit me that different, but I was like,
Yeah.
that's.
I liked it.
It was cute.
I
The
love
whole
that
thing.
show.
I
the
liked
whole
it
show.
from start to finish.
Yeah.
It's like, this is different. Okay, that was not me. I know that.
It came
not
from this
me.
Why did-
direction.
Not I.
It's just YouTube notifications.
Is it your computer?
I think so, maybe.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Why did you say he wouldn't like it?
Because he wouldn't probably. Or what?
What's
Yeah.
wrong with me?
Lots.
I'm going to kill him.
So much.
Nothing's wrong with you. I just don't think you would like it if I was not liking it because of like I was looking for active spiritual like, okay, give me some teachings, and that's why I was putting up with it. But I know you're not as into that as I am, or at least you weren't. I don't know how it is now after your
Religion?
experience through
No.
hell. Not religion. I didn't say that. Anyway,
I've never
it's
been against your spiritual stuff.
it's about a lot of that, and it's just random crap. It's like Rick and Morty for preschoolers.
Okay,
But it's like got
speaking
some
of-
weird rated R shit in it. I was like, what?
There was definitely some weird. That show.
I'm
is
on the
be-
UTA train. All
That show's weird as fuck. I know exactly which episode you're talking about. Trudy Booty.
Oh, my God. That was so weird, dude.
there was a couple of them, but I'm like,
Why?
just caught me so off guard.
Really?
Should we wrap it up? Is this gonna help anyone?
No,
No,
it's
it's not
just
gonna
fun.
help anyone. I was just saying, you may or may not like it. Watch it, see if you do. I know Tammy.
I don't think you would.
Tammy
be able
didn't
to
like it, but she also didn't know. Like, she didn't necessarily want to give it a chance because I had it recommended to me by 2 different people, and I was like, okay.
The only
Gotta rip
reason,
it.
generally, the only reason I recommended it to you specifically is because I know that you can be with the weird enough to accept it for at least a minute. And I thought that
the
there were some
weird.
pretty good things.
All
in
the
it.
weird, I was like, yes. It definitely fed me. But at the same time, I was like, all right, what is the point here? It was good.
I enjoy it a lot,
It
but I'm
ended
a
up being
peculiar
at
creature.
least pretty okay.
At least pretty okay.
was pretty okay.
I'll take it.
It's better than not good. All right, we can wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining us again for another podcast. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out our merch tab on our website, infinitysummitgroup.com. Check out the books we've been reading. We will be reading or going over 1984 by George Orwell next week. And then after that, we'll see. What was the book we were going to do?
The Red
Anthem.
Book. Oh,
yeah, and
Anthem.
then after
Yeah,
that, we're
sorry.
going to read Anthem by
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand. Thank you.
Awesome.
Other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
And a disclaimer, we do not promote
Yes.
any drug use. We do not recommend it. This is purely opinion.
Educational.
Educational. All right.
See you guys next
Thanks,
week.
guys.
Bye.